Hello everyone and welcome to BMW's 2021 540i xDrive. The 5 Series went through a midlife update for this model year, and being able to check out what is kind of the bread and butter recipe for all these past years of BMW's products is very refreshing in the way that we've kind of gone back to basics, but this is in no way a plain and boring and really lifeless vehicle. The mid-size executive space is filled with very competitive products, but yet the BMW 5 Series still has its own personality, and most of that comes from its driving experience. But let's quickly talk about the changes that came for this 2021 midlife update, or in BMW speak, LCI, which is Life Cycle Impulse. So first things you're going to notice is that we have some noticeably different headlights and taillights, slightly different grille and bumper setups. It shows that BMW still knows how to build a handsome, conservative, elegant vehicle, but given the controversy that they've had towards more than a few of their latest vehicles, they're intentionally choosing not to go in the direction that they have done with this updated 5 Series. I really like the look of it, helps distinguish it a little more from the 3 Series and the 7 Series. Other updates include that with this 6-cylinder engine, we have a new 48-volt mild hybrid system. So it's an 11 horsepower motor that is a starter generator, takes some strain off of that 3-litre twin-scroll turbocharged straight-six engine that makes 333 horsepower and 335 pound-feet of torque. But you'll mostly notice it as sort of the next step for stop-start engine technology, so you don't have to be at a complete stop for the engine to turn off, and where you might experience that little bit of a shudder where the engine restarts if you mash down on the throttle, that is a lot smoother, a lot quicker, as the electric motor helps out with that first couple feet of rollout as the engine is reigniting. And to wrap up the last little bits of changes, you'll see that we have the digital instrument cluster that's in pretty much all of the other current BMW products. I do miss that partially physical screen that was in the last 5 Series I tested out, and this new 12.3-inch touchscreen. It has the latest iDrive software, but not the latest iDrive hardware. No bad thing really, and even though it is a very large screen, I can still see the edge of the dashboard, I can still look down onto the bonnet, so even though it is a very big screen, it isn't impeding my forwards visibility at all, making the 5 Series any more challenging to operate. Saying all that though, even though it is a larger screen and the graphics are beautiful and it's just as smart and just as responsive as any other iDrive system, I do find personal annoyance where car companies put in larger screens than what was there previously, but they aren't offering anything really new to the table. There isn't any new features that we've never seen before with this 12.3-inch screen. I wish they could have kept the smaller screen and really just had the software update and call it a day. Following that note on the new technology, there is some elements of the older hardware of BMW's products here in the 540i. Like I said, the iDrive knob and the buttons that surround it are certainly from BMWs of past, where these days we have quite a different setup for something like the new 3 Series. And interacting with this small horizontal touch screen for your climate control and seat functions, I think is a smart system, and it does work very well, but we can tell that BMW is getting away from this system with all of their latest products. Now, being in this mid-size executive sedan segment, the 5 Series has to be a few things. It has to be comfortable, has to be refined, and it just has to be so unbothered by the rest of the world. It has a long compression in the suspension and irons out most imperfections on the road. It isn't a floaty driving experience. It doesn't have air suspension, so something like an Audi A6, if you want to be undisturbed from the road, is probably a better choice, but the BMW 5 Series still has to remain somewhat involved and give the driver some level of feedback. And I do think it delivers on that front. And given that the model I'm testing out, which has the M Performance package, which brings the red brake calipers, the 20-inch rims, and most crucially, the variable suspension, if you ever see an interesting bit of road ahead, you slap the vehicle into Sport mode or Sport Plus, the 540i still allows you to be enthusiastic towards the road ahead, where many of its rivals would just fall apart in that moment. But if you didn't want to pay attention to driving, you put your podcast or your music on, and you just hit the highway, you can absolutely dominate miles in this 540i. The engine is beautifully responsive, and even if you want to push it up to the 6,000, 6,500, it's still so smooth and so removed from the cabin that no vibration at all ever finds its way into your seat or through the center tunnel. It's remarkable, honestly. Not only does this engine have superb refinement, but it does sound good if I knock it down a fair few gears and actually give it an opportunity to rev out. Though that sound is quite distant, as here in comfort mode it's not using any piped in audio, it's still nice enough that you, if you ever are given the opportunity to rev out this engine a little bit, it does have more than a pleasurable sound. And even if you didn't want to be bothered by the music on the radio, there is so little wind noise or road noise entering the cabin that it shows that BMW has been able to constantly refine this recipe to make the 540i perhaps not as thrilling to drive as it once was. The steering certainly does feel perhaps quite a bit lighter than some other products I've tested from them recently. Talking about the 5 Series Practicality, when you open up the trunk, you don't have anything underneath the floor. There's no space saver spare wheel, as most of these 5 Series come with run flat tires, and I like that the seats can fold 3 ways, so if you were for some reason avoiding an SUV, there is still plenty of practicality to be found in this product. I'm 6'4", and even though if I want to push my head up against the headrest, I am going to hit the headliner first, but I do feel comfortable enough in this mid-size sedan that I would spend a fair amount of time back here. So there you have it. Those are all my thoughts towards BMW's latest iteration of the 5 Series. This 540i is exactly what it needs to be in this category. So if you're at all serious about your driving and you're buying a vehicle because you intend to spend as much time behind the wheel as possible, then the 5 Series is still top in its class in that regard. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again on the channel soon.